All right, let's dive into these horror movies coming out in 2025.
Yeah, looks like we've got a lot to unpack here.
We're basing this deep dive on this bloody, disgusting article.
Over 50 horror films they previewed.
It's going to be a big year for horror. Sequels, reboots, original stories.
A little something for everyone.
So let's help everyone figure out what they should check out in 2025.
Sounds good to me.
I noticed right away that there's a ton of body horror coming out.
You're right, there are quite a few. Like Bird Eater.
Oh yeah, Bird Eater.
The trailer makes it look super creepy.
It looks pretty wild.
Definitely gives off that feral vibe.
For sure. And then we've got Lee Wannell doing Wolfman.
Oh, that's right.
I'm thinking he's going to go for some real body horror with that one.
Yeah, he did a great job with The Invisible Man, so I'm excited for this one.
Me too.
I feel like it'll be similar to The Fly.
Oh yeah, definitely. Transforming and all that.
And Grafted is another one dealing with body horror, but in a different way.
More of a technological angle?
Yeah, exactly. This experimental skin grafting
Oh, that sounds intense.
could get pretty messy.
Well, let's move on from messy to franchises. Some big ones coming back.
M3GN 2.0 is the first one that comes to mind for me.
I still get chills thinking about the first one, that doll.
And Insidious. I come out with number 6.
Insidious 6!
Back to the Further.
Taking us deeper into the Further.
Yeah. For those who don't know, that's that spirit world from the Insidious movies.
That place is terrifying.
And this is going to be the last one for Ed and Lorraine Warren, The Conjuring, Last Rites.
That's right, the final chapter. I'm really curious how they'll wrap it all up.
They've really shaped the paranormal horror landscape.
Oh, and get this, Final Destination is back.
No way.
Final Destination. Bloodlines. And I heard a rumor that Tony Todd might be back.
Oh, William Bloodworth.
That would be awesome.
He always adds such an eerie element.
Yeah, for sure. Now, here's a weird one. Predator. Badlands.
What's so weird about that?
Well, it sounds like the Predator is the hero in this one.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? They're flipping the script.
That is unexpected. It makes you wonder what kind of threat is out there.
Some serious stuff if it can make the Predator the good guy.
Definitely.
And to make things even crazier, there's another Predator movie coming out in 2025, but we don't know anything about it yet.
Wow, 2 Predator films.
2025 is the year of the Predator.
So what franchise are you most excited about?
That's a tough one.
Moving on. Let's look at some adaptations coming out in 2025. We've got a couple of Stephen King adaptations that I have my eye on.
The Monkey.
Yes, directed by Osgood Perkins.
That trailer was wild.
It was. I think he really understands what makes King's work so scary.
Yeah, definitely. That monkey is pure nightmare fuel. And, oh, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is also coming out.
Ooh, that's right.
And get this, they got Jim Henson's Creature Shop to do the animatronics.
No way. That's both awesome and terrifying.
Right.
They're so good at making things look almost human.
But not quite.
It's exactly.
That's what makes it so creepy.
And they're doing a movie based on the video game Until Dawn.
I love that game. The choices you make determine who lives and who dies.
It's a tough one to adapt, though.
Yeah, how do you translate all those different paths to the big screen?
I guess we'll see. What about you? Have you played Until Dawn?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So many different ways it can end. It was really intense.
And we've got some book adaptations, too. Paul W.S. Anderson is adapting In the Lost Lands by George R.R. Martin.
That's going to be interesting.
Martin's a master storyteller, whether it's fantasy or horror.
And Edgar Wright is directing The Running Man, based on the Stephen King novel.
Oh, wow. Edgar Wright doing a Stephen King adaptation.
Talk about an unexpected combination.
I wonder what that'll be like.
You too.
Wright's visual style is so unique.
Yeah, and King's stories are just begging to be brought to life on screen. All right, let's move on to some original horror movies.
Sounds good.
We've got Companion, which is being produced by Zach Kreger.
Oh, the guy who did Barbarian.
Yep, that's him. They're keeping the plot under wraps for now, which makes it even more intriguing.
I love Barbarian. It kept you guessing the whole time.
Definitely. Okay, how about this? Presence is a haunted house movie from Steven Soderbergh, but it's told from the ghost's perspective.
That's an interesting take.
Right.
Could be really cool, or it could totally ruin the scares.
I guess it depends on how they handle it.
Yeah.
Then we've got Dark Match.
What's that one about?
It follows a wrestling company that gets mixed up with this creepy cult that puts on this deadly pay-per-view fight.
Wow, that's wild.
Right.
Sounds like a mix of a slasher and a cult thriller.
Sure.
I'm into it.
Me too.
Okay, now let's talk about some of the big names we're seeing in 2025.
Death of a Unicorn immediately caught my attention.
Why is that?
It's got Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega.
What?
And to make it even better, John Carpenter's doing the score.
Oh, wow. Talk about a dream team.
Seriously.
That sounds incredible. And then there's David Cronenberg's latest, The Shrouds.
He's really diving deep into death with this one.
As he often does.
But it sounds like there's a darkly comedic side to it this time.
I wonder how he'll balance those two elements.
Me too.
We've also got Flying Lotus doing a sci-fi horror film called Ash.
He's a musician.
Yeah, but he's also done some really cool visual work.
I'm curious to see what he does in the horror realm.
Me too.
And John Sarah is directing The Woman in the Yard. And then there's Drop from Christopher Landon.
Seems like a lot of musicians are crossing over to film these days.
Yeah. The Weeknd's also starring in a psychological thriller.
Really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the final part of his artistic trilogy.
I wonder if it'll be as visually striking as his music videos.
I'd say that's a safe bet.
And Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are back with 28 Years Later.
That's right.
The original 28 Days Later was amazing.
I loved it.
I wonder how this one's going to connect to the first one.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And Scott Derrickson's doing a film about elite snipers called The Gorge.
Oh, that sounds intense.
It's got this supernatural twist to it, too.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
And speaking of intense, we've got Al Pacino and Dan Stevens in The Ritual.
Exorcisms and religious horror.
That's a classic combination.
Always effective.
Then there's Sinners. Michael B. Jordan's playing twins.
Twins.
Yeah, and they have to face off against this evil force in their hometown.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Right.
I love Michael B. Jordan.
Me too.
And last but not least, Trey Edward Schultz is bringing us Hurry Up Tomorrow with Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan.
He's great at building atmosphere and dread. This one's going to mess with our heads.
Definitely.
Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg for 2025. We've got so much more to cover in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
Me neither.
It's going to be a great year for horror fans.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more horror goodness.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back.
We're ready for round 2.
Your horror goodness.
Let's dig into some more of these movies coming out in 2025.
All right, so beyond all the body horror we were talking about, it looks like some other classic horror subgenres are coming back in a big way.
Like slashers.
Exactly.
We've got Hard Eyes.
Valentine's Day slasher?
Turning the day of love into a bloodbath.
Clever.
I like it.
And then there's Clown in a Cornfield.
Okay, with a new slasher villain.
Called Friendo.
Friendo, huh?
Yeah.
Killer clown in a cornfield.
Sounds pretty creepy.
I'm kind of into it.
Works on a couple different levels too, right?
'Cause clowns are always scary.
And then that cornfield setting.
You're totally isolated.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, I could see that.
And they're rebooting Silent Night, Deadly Night.
The Killer Santa movie.
A holiday classic.
So we've got slashers.
Holiday horror.
But what about some psychological thrillers?
Oh yeah, there are a few that look really interesting.
Like The Dead Thing.
That one looks like it's going to be intense.
Really delving into obsession.
Toxic relationships.
All those dark emotions.
Yeah.
The Gorge sounds interesting too.
Starring Miles Teller.
And Anya Taylor-Joy.
Great actors.
Romance mixed with some sort of otherworldly threat.
Hard to categorize.
I like that.
They're both so good at conveying those complex emotions.
The vulnerability.
The terror.
Definitely.
Die, My Love is another one to keep an eye on.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Directed by Lynn Ramsey.
She always does these really dark, atmospheric films.
Psychological.
Definitely.
An opus.
From A24.
Io Edebiri's in it.
A24 always brings something interesting to the table.
They do.
Ash, too, with Isa Gonzalez and Aaron Paul.
Psychological and physical terror.
On a mysterious planet.
Sounds intriguing.
Very much so. Okay, we've got Beneath the Storm.
A shark attack movie.
Directed by Tommy Wirkola.
Oh, wow. The guy who did Violent Night.
The one and only.
Interesting.
I wonder what his take on a shark attack movie will be like.
Yeah, he's got a very unique style.
A lot of action.
Dark humor.
I'm curious to see how that translates.
Now, there are also a few films that are exploring more domestic horror.
Oh, like what?
The Woman in the Yard.
Okay, with Danielle Deadwyler.
It's being directed by Joan Calicera.
A lot of mysteries surrounding that one.
He's really good at suspense.
Yeah, he is.
And then there's Drop.
From Christopher Landon.
Sounds like a really bad date night.
Some Fatal Attraction vibes.
Definitely.
And then there's The Housemaid.
Adapted from that best-selling novel.
With Sydney Sweeney.
Finding out her employer's dark secrets.
Classic setup.
For sure.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Back to found footage.
It's still going strong.
Hell House LLC lineage is diving back into that abandoned hotel.
Super creepy location.
Definitely.
A lot of history there.
And we're getting the Black Phone, too,
Bringing back Ethan Hawke.
as the grabber.
I wonder if we'll learn more about him this time.
His backstory.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of original found footage films coming out, too.
Shelby Oaks.
And Tinsman Road.
It's such an effective style when it's done well.
Really puts you in the middle as the action.
Makes it feel real.
And of course, we can't forget about VHS 8.
The latest installment in the anthology series.
I love anthology horror.
You get a little bit of everything.
All different styles.
Different stories.
I'm always down for a good horror anthology.
So what about you? Any of these found footage films grabbing your attention?
Tough to choose.
Now let's jump to some films that are standing out because of their unique premises.
Okay, what do we have?
Bugonia, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos.
And produced by Ari Aster.
An English-language remake of Save the Green Planet.
That Korean cult classic.
Alien invasion paranoia.
Those two are a perfect pairing for that.
Lanthimos and Aster.
They both have such a distinct style.
Really get under your skin.
Primitive War sounds pretty wild, too.
Dinosaurs in the Vietnam War.
What?
Yeah, you heard that right.
That's a wild combination.
Dinosaurs and soldiers.
I never would have thought of that.
Could be really cool.
I'm definitely intrigued.
Then we have The Ugly Stepsister.
Body horror twist on Cinderella.
Definitely not the Disney version.
Right. I'm all for a good dark fairy tale.
Me too.
Okay, now let's talk about some of those films that have big names attached.
All right, so first up we have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Finally happening.
Coming to Netflix.
He's been talking about this one forever.
I can't wait to see what he does with it.
Me neither.
He's got such a great visual style.
And the cast is phenomenal.
Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth.
Christoph Waltz and Oscar Isaac.
Seriously.
It's going to be epic.
And Maggie Gyllenhaal is directing The Bride.
With Jessie Buckley.
And Christian Bale's playing Dr. Frankenstein.
Talk about star power.
I wonder what her vision for the story will be.
Me too.
They're rebooting Anaconda.
With a comedic twist this time.
Okay, that I've got to see.
Paul Rudd and Jack Black.
What a pairing.
They're going to be hilarious.
I can already imagine it.
Oh, and Saw X is coming.
They're bringing back Kevin Gruder to direct.
He did Saw 6 and Saw the final chapter.
Back to basics.
More gruesome games.
For sure.
And I Know What You Did Last Summer is back.
Really?
With the original cast.
Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Back to finish what they started.
Nostalgia overload.
And more Fear Street.
Another trip to Shady Side.
This time it's Fear Street Prom Queen.
Set in 1988.
Blood-soaked prom night.
Sounds about right.
Okay, we're almost done, but I want to mention a few more films.
Okay, let's do it.
We've got Bring Her Back.
From A24.
With the directors of Talk to Me.
Starring Sally Hawkins.
Sounds like a good one.
And then there's Frey Waka.
An Irish language horror film.
Folklore and supernatural entities.
I love those kinds of stories.
They're always so creepy.
And vicious.
From the director of The Strangers.
Dakota Fanning's in it.
He does a great job of creating that slow burn atmospheric horror. And last but not least, we have Visitation.
From Nicholas Pesce.
Exploring religious institutions.
He always goes for the unsettling stuff.
This one sounds like it's going to be pretty dark.
It's been a whirlwind tour.
So many horror movies coming out in 2025.
It's going to be an amazing year for horror fans.
I can't wait to see what they come up with next.
Me neither.
Stay tuned, because there's even more to come.
We're not done yet. We're back for the final part of our 2025 horror preview.
We've talked about so many movies already.
But we're not done yet.
There are still some mysteries to uncover.
Movies that are still under wraps.
We know they're coming, but that's about it.
Like that untitled Predator movie.
Oh yeah, the one Steve Asbell mentioned.
The head of 20th Century Studios.
It's going straight to streaming.
But we don't know anything else.
It's fun to speculate though, right?
Oh, totally.
Is it a prequel, a sequel, or maybe something completely new?
And we're already getting Predator Badlands this year.
That's right.
2 Predator movies in 1 year. I can't wait.
And then there's Thread, an Insidious tale.
The Insidious spinoff.
They're keeping that one pretty quiet too.
Which makes sense, right?
Build up the suspense.
Exactly.
But those untitled projects, the ones with no information, those are the ones that really get my imagination going.
I know what you mean. It's like, what could they be hiding?
It's the unknown that's truly terrifying.
So as we wrap up this massive preview of horror in 2025,
It's looking like a pretty incredible year.
so many different styles of horror.
Something for everyone.
But I think this deep dive has shown that horror is more than just jump scares and gore.
Right, it's a way to explore our deepest
To
fears
confront the darkness.
and to find a little catharsis along the way.
2025 is going to be a year of pushing boundaries and trying new things in horror.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
So, to everyone listening, get ready for a year of amazing horror. Keep those lights on. And most importantly, have fun.